Welcome to the 4NewMobility Leadership Talk series. Today, I welcomed Alexander Pinker, a renowned innovation profiler, future strategist, and AI expert for a conversation on the strategic implementation of artificial intelligence in business environments. From the outset, Alexander reframes AI not as a mere technological add-on, but as a strategic co-pilot, a transformative force that redefines how organizations operate, make decisions, and deliver value. Drawing on over a decade of experience at the intersection of foresight, technology, and storytelling, Alex offers a pragmatic and deeply human-centric approach to AI adoption. Enjoy the podcast. So, Alex, welcome. I hope everything is fine with you.
Thank you very much, and thank you that I can be here in your podcast. I'm looking forward to your questions and to the conversation.
I'm very excited. I'm very happy to have you in this conversation, in this podcast. And this podcast is about AI in enterprises. And I think we agreed on a very broad topic, because we want to see in how far AI can support companies to be more effective, more efficient, support the employees. And that means how it can save money, but also optimize processes within the company. And I'm very happy that we have this conversation and that you help us to dig a bit deeper into this topic. And my first question is maybe a simple one, for you, but I think it's an important one for the listeners. It is what is for you AI? And maybe what is for you AI in the context also, especially of enterprises?
Well, to be honest, everyone is talking about AI, and AI is occupying the media more than any other topic, in my opinion, at least. But if we look at AI in the enterprise context, it is not simply a technology as we often hear it and read it and view it in all the media. It's a strategic enabler. It supports businesses by transforming their decisions and transforming the way decisions are made, operations are run, and value and how they deliver value to customers. There's a lot AI can do, from predictive analytics to automation to generative capabilities. AI is a little bit like a co-pilot across all departments. I once had a workshop and one of the participants said a very magical sentence. He said, well, I always thought AI is just a software, but after this workshop I learned AI is something to pilot, like a plane. And to be honest, that's exactly that. We need our experts, we need our employees, but AI can enhance productivity, reduce a little bit of ineffectiveness, and empowers employees to focus on high value work. But it still needs the human. AI does not replace humans, it empowers them. There's this wonderful quote of a namesake of mine, not Alex, but Pinker, who once said, not AI will take your job, but a person who uses an AI. And I really think it's a very powerful quote because it gives us the right set of mind. Because AI offers us insights that would take humans days to analyze, perform tasks in seconds, and can work 24/7 without fatigue. And I think that's one of the best and most important enabling contexts if we talk and think about AI.
I mean, listening to you, I feel already the enthusiasm, But that makes me also curious. I mean, how come you became an advisor on AI? I guess especially also for companies, maybe also for other purposes. And in addition, I'm very curious, do you have a special approach? Are there special approaches, or is it, I mean, you have an advisor, good luck. I mean, what is your view on this?
To be honest, it's a little bit like good luck every time again, but let's start at the beginning. I'm not a classical IT guy. My journey into the world of AI, of innovation, consulting, started with the intersection of foresight, technology, and storytelling. I have a background in media. I studied media management in a bachelor and um, corporate communication in my master's degree, and added on a micromaster in Boston on the topic of digital leadership. And with the background in media, business strategy, and digital transformation, I've always been drawn a little bit to emerging technologies and their real life approach. So, as a past media person, I always like to see an end result. And that makes me a little bit different from classical consultants who come up with strategies, a lot of PowerPoint slides, and afterwards, it's again, good luck, guys. This is not my approach. I love it if innovation is approachable, if it is really applicable for companies. And that's how I came to innovation. I looked at AI, at virtual reality, at a lot of other possible innovations, and thought, well, it's a lot of IT buzzwords and a lot of technological knowledge, but most of the people who need to apply it don't understand. So I used my media background to make stuff simple. And that's what I do nowadays. I still understand all the technical difficulties behind all the technology, but I try to translate it into an approachable way for my clients to really understand what it can do for them. And you asked me what my approach or my architecture is. To be honest, it's a little bit the combination of all my backgrounds, as I'm doing this for over 13 years now. And I combine, as a tech translator, my foresight thinking. So I use foresight tech methods to help companies understand how future trends could shape their reality. Then I use a little bit of strategic framing. So I align AI efforts with business goals, not isolated to IT experiments. Then I'm quite pragmatic. We start with piloting small tests, test fast, learn quickly, and always talk to the people. That's how I keep going. And that's my job. I profile opportunities. I look for the traces of change, and then I apply it.
But
So yeah.
is it most of the time that you have customers? I mean, there you give kind of seminars and then you go away, or is it that you have more customers who say, look, I mean, we have a specific topic, yeah. For this topic, we need a process, yeah, and we would like you to be part of this process so that we implement successfully AI for in a specific context. I mean, is it both or is it one of the two?
Nowadays, it's both. In the past, I would have answered your question with it's a lot of seminars and workshops, but in the last 1.5 years, it changed a lot. Not because I changed, but the need of the customers changed. Nowadays, they start to understand what AI, like ChatGPT, generative AI, and the other ones can do for them, and now they need an approach to really integrate it. So, what started with workshops and seminars over the last 2 years is now becoming a little bit more of a strategic approach. People understand the basics of technology and now want to implement them into their existing processes. And I could say nowadays I do a lot of consulting work and try to fuse the possibilities with the resources companies have to make the best out of it.
I mean, now when we talk about processes, yeah, I come immediately to the next question, yeah, which is what are really the opportunities for the companies? I mean, what would you see as the main opportunities for the companies implementing AI? And there maybe you see some low-hanging fruits, yeah, where you say, look, I mean, when you start with AI, do this and this, yeah, that's easy and maybe not very challenging, but there might be also more challenging deployments. I mean, what are the main opportunities in your view?
To be honest, it can't be said for every company the same way, but I think the most graspable low-hanging fruit is to use the tools we have out there. We have a ChatGPT, we have a Perplexity, we have a lot of image generation and video generation, and those are wonderful opportunities and possibilities to really get started. So not to really develop an own tool set, which could be helpful if you have the money and resources, but to really enable the employees in the first thing to understand there is a tool that can help you. You have to be a little bit cautious about data security, about all the copyrights, about all the rules and laws out there, but you can get assistance in writing texts, in marketing slogans. You can get assistance in predictive analytics, for example, where you can see trends and so on. So there are a lot of low-hanging fruits all out there. Of course, most of the people just know one or two tools. They know the Copilot from Microsoft, maybe because it was forced on them by Microsoft. They may have known of ChatGPT, but to be honest, the best low-hanging fruit is to understand the need you have in your company and then look out for the best open source tool that is out there, or the best cloud tool that is out there that you can license and play around a little bit. After you understood the basics of it, you can dig a little bit deeper. You could start with their own RAG system. RAG stands for Retrieve, Augment, Generate. So you could have a system that helps you work with company data, interpret company data, and make the AI tools your own. But this needs a little bit more of experience. This needs an understanding of how tools work. It needs an understanding of the employees, not of you, not of your IT department, but of your employees, what they can do with the existing tools and what is missing of those. So this is a little bit of a mid-hanging fruit. After understanding, you can apply it to own tools, own data sets, own sources you could combine. And I think the highest complexity, but also the highest reward in business transformation is an AI-driven product development, for example, where you craft products, learn, evolve, where you have decision intelligence systems which support your strategic planning and have agents which will fully automate some of your processes. But this is the high level. So I would recommend start with the low level, make the people understand the basics, make them experience the pros and cons of all the tools, and then move a little bit forward.
But now you spoke about AI-driven development, yeah, and in my view, that is something which is really changing a company, yeah, from deep inside. And whenever this happens, yeah, this also transforms the company in a way where people have to be involved in this. Yeah, people have to accept it. There can be resistance also against such changes and transformation. And I could imagine that you are part of this. Yeah, part of this in the context of offering training, part of it in creating acceptance within the workforce.
Yeah.
I mean, is this something where you are involved? You're working with it, and what are your experiences?
It's a big part of my daily business, and I think one of the biggest experiences I collected in the past years is that you don't have to think of an AI project as something IT driven. A lot of companies, especially the bigger ones, try to create a new tool with their IT department and then throw it onto their employees and think they will adapt to it. There's a wonderful phenomenon in the innovation research that is called not invented here. The not invented here phenomenon describes that employees don't adapt to new technology, new processes when they were not involved in the development. And I think this is one of the biggest mistakes many companies nowadays use. You don't have to develop it on your own in your little innovation team or in your IT department. You have to work with the people out there, give them the time to adapt, to find out how AI can help them in their daily lives. And we don't have to rush. It's a big difference from the other technologies we have in our office life, for example. If we think about Teams, if we think about the video conferencing tools we have nowadays, they were forced on us because of the pandemic. There was no other solution than to adapt to a digital workplace. But a lot of people did not understand the pros and cons, and they were nervous. They were overworked with it. They were stressed because they had to adopt. With AI, it's different. No one forces you to use it right now. You can have your own pace, find out the best practices for you, and give them back to the development team. So if you really want to start with an AI tool or an AI process or an AI workflow, don't develop it in your little echo chamber. That's the biggest mistake you can do. Talk to the people out there. Tell them what they or ask them what they really want from such a tool, where a machine can help them, and then develop it with them, not without them. That's one of my biggest learning. So I told you I from time to time use a pilot project to implement AI features. One of the biggest things I always say to my customers is don't make this project in a special section or in a special area of your company. Look for a pilot project where a lot of different people are involved, from marketing to sales to finance to IT to maybe your law department and so on and so on. They all will bring their own way of thinking into it, and they can learn from each other. And that's in the past years I've done this. It's one of the biggest learnings and one of my biggest shout outs to the people out there. Do it together.
And
Don't
I
do it
found
alone.
it quite fascinating when you started with not invented here. I thought, okay, you have to be careful that you're not just taking a tool and a solution from outside and you try to implement it in the company. You have to adjust it, yeah. But then you said not invented here, if I understood you correctly, is also from the IT department.
Yeah,
Yeah, from the own IT department. There, I would have imagined that means invented here. Yeah, but what you are saying is that's not sufficient. You have to involve the different departments at an
yeah,
early stage
yeah,
already to get acceptance. That's, I think that's a very, at least for me, yeah, that's something which sounds absolutely right. Yeah, but that is something which needs really consideration. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, you touched already upon it, yeah, but maybe we go a bit deeper into
Mhm.
it, yeah, because people are very concerned, yeah, with respect to using AI in the context of legal issues, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, data privacy, etc., etc. They're also afraid that their data goes to some places they don't want to have them there. Could you shed some light on this topic?
First of all, of course, you have to be a little bit considerate on the legal topics. Data privacy, GDPR, and so on are quite strict in our country and in Europe especially. So, of course, you need to understand. You need to understand how tools collect user data, what you can do to use, for example, anonymization and stuff to get people going. But data protection is one of the nicest shields we could hide behind, because one of the biggest blockers in innovation is that the people don't adapt new technologies like AI because they say, well, we have the data problem, so we don't use it. And that's it, no, that's not a solution to just say no because data. There are a lot of solutions out there which can help you. You can host an AI tool, for example, locally, like with GPT for All, which is a wonderful open source software which you can download, like you did with Office tools in the past, and download all the models you could use right on your computer. You don't even have to use a gaming machine like my laptop. You just need a normal computer with a little bit of power, but it does not have to be the supercomputer you would imagine. Or you could develop an own tool. There is a community out there that can help you develop it for your own servers. You just need a little bit of technical understanding, which your IT department should have, and then you have your own tool. You don't have to use a ChatGPT. You could use an Mistral from France, or you could use an even a DeepSeek from China, because it's open source, and when it's locally, it's locally. But you have to understand the best way, the worst way you could do, or you could tackle all those legal issues, is to just hide behind them and say, well, we don't want to use it because we don't want to have any legal issues. You will lose so much of power, and you will get lost in the transition, because people who are not adopting to AI will get lost someday. It's a technology that will stay. And of course, you need to understand. You need to make your employees, your teams, your management department aware that there is a privacy issue, that you can't just upload every Excel file you find to ChatGPT without consideration of licenses that are out there. You need guidelines. Of course, you need to understand that there, for example, in Europe is the AI Act, which enforces some rules on the usage of AI, not even generative, but AI in total, even the bigger systems. You need to understand this. You need to tell people about this, but you can't hide behind this. And a lot of people I know and I encounter hide exactly behind the legal issues. And in my opinion, and it's my opinion, I'm not a lawyer, it's the worst thing you could do.
And concerning the AI Act, which you mentioned, is there a possibility in a nutshell? That means maybe 6 sentences to describe what is the main importance of this legislation?
Well, the AI Act is, to be honest, really important. Till now, we had a little bit of a Wild West scenario. Everyone is using AI and no one really understands what they're doing. And I think a lot of companies and people did a lot of shady stuff with this thing. So the EU were thinking about getting a little bit of regulation on this whole topic of AI and created the AI Act, a general law, a little bit like the privacy law, to help people understand how can you use AI. And it divides the different artificial intelligence areas into risk potentials. So, for example, there are forbidden practices with AI, like scoring, which we know from time to time from other countries, where you are surveillanced, and if you do this and that, you have a problem. This is forbidden in Europe nowadays. Then you have high risk AI applications, which come, for example, when you have a self-driving car, or if you use it in law, if you use it in medical institutions. There you need to have a backup plan or a backup plan. So what if it goes wrong? What can you do then? You need to have a risk management, a really planned out one. You have to have the human in the loop, as it's called. So people have to have a look at the processes and decide from time to time if the AI needs a little bit of adjustment. Then you have mid-risk AI systems, which are chatbots, for example. The classical chatbot on your website needs just one new thing. It needs to have transparency. In the past, we had a lot of chatbots which used real names and stock photos of people with funny headphones on it. This is forbidden now. If you have a chatbot on your website, it needs to be transparent. It needs to say, hi, I'm an AI chatbot. If you want to talk to a human, do it. I could make mistakes. Sorry for this. And then you have tools like ChatGPT, like Perplexity, like the image generations, which are not really regulated in a big way, but they also have a law of transparency. If you, for example, use AI-generated pictures, audio, videos, you have to mark them as created by AI. By text, it's a little bit more complicated. It would fill too much time now, but it gives us a general rule of thumb how to use AI tools. It's not perfectly written, to be honest, and there's a lot of interpretation in the AI Act, especially when it comes to its execution, because you could lose a lot of money if you don't follow the rules. So it's up to 36 million or 7% of your international revenue. It could hurt a lot, but I'm glad that it's here. I'm not so glad that it's a little bit wishy-washy and not so precise as it should be. But better to have this than to have nothing, to be honest.
I mean, what I'm really fascinated about is the speed of development concerning AI.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I follow it actually quite closely, yeah, because I have constantly to learn about new trends and developments, also in the context of new mobility. And I mean, first, I think it was the large language models. Yeah, now there is reasoning. There are AI agents. Do you have some messages for us, maybe in the context of what are currently the newest trends, yeah, the newest tools? Is there something that you can shed some light for us on this topic?
I think one of the biggest trends in AI are agentic systems. So we are not talking about the general AI we are used to for the last past 2 years anymore, where you just integrate a little bit of ChatGPT prompts and it will give us a poem. We're talking about real hybrid teams nowadays. So one of the biggest trends which started to emerge a little bit in the end of last year are agent systems. Agent systems, to say it in a very easy way, are systems that really take over a complete process. For example, if you get a support email, it will collect it, will read it, will answer it, and then give it to you for review. Or if you want to make it a little bit more private, want to plan a wonderful travel or a vacation, you could say to your AI agent, hey, I want to travel from Munich to London. Please look for the right hotels, for the right flights, and then go to Booking and to Skyscanner and just book it for me, okay? So the agent is not just a dialogue partner or a sparring partner like the classical LLMs are, but they are really an expert in their field, which can help us to tackle the increasing speed of our everyday lives, but also could take over tasks we don't have people for. We're still living in an era where we don't have a lot of experts for every field. And if we want to have experts, they're quite expensive. So an AI agent could adapt to this problem and fill up the gaps in our teams. So this is one of the biggest trends we have nowadays. The other trends are reasoning models. So again, a little bit different approach from the past. We know in the past we needed to have this iterative way of talking to an AI, for example. Needed to really tell it what to do. You need to do this, then you do that. No, you did not do this very good, so please do it like this. And nowadays we have those reasoning models. Reasoning models started with OpenAI's O1, which was presented in the later half of last year and was adapted by DeepSeek from China and so on, where AI models nowadays think logically. So we don't have to take them on hand and guide them to every logical step, but they will take the thinking for us and will a little bit work like a real expert or a professor, a lecturer, and will dig deep into the topic and help us grasp stuff a little bit more. So another big trend we have nowadays.
Now
What will
I
come?
started actually
Yep.
using also reasoning model, yeah, and I'm really amazed, yeah. Afterwards, I mean, I guess that there are different models for different
Of
purposes.
course.
Yeah, I
Of
mean, it's
course.
not reasoning is always the best. Yeah, there are other models for other purposes. Yeah, but I'm really fascinated by using reasoning models. Yeah, and I'm um, I'm looking forward to the next steps. Yeah, and the AI agent. Yeah, I tried to create one. Yeah, but so far I was not successful. Yeah, I guess I need some support on this one. Yeah.
Yeah, an agent system really needs time. You really need to understand how to prompt. You really have to test it a lot. It's sometimes very depressing to create an agent, to be honest. But when it works fine. But you need to have a little bit more of tweaking. And here we are again from the low-hanging fruits to the high-hanging fruits. The low-hanging fruits were to understand how to use a classical LLM, how to talk to ChatGPT. The next decision is, after you understood how you could use it, how can we add tools to it? How can we help it understand in the long run to do tasks for us? This is the next evolution, and so on and so on. But again, without the knowledge of the low-hanging fruits, how to use a prompt, for example, in the beginning, you can't create an agent, and then you can't create an automation, and so on and so on.
I mean, when you work with companies,
Yeah.
And you talk about what are the best tools, yeah, and how can we implement AI. I think there's one topic where I wonder if this is also an important one, yeah, because AI only works when you have data.
Yeah.
If you want to optimize certain processes, you need data. You have to feed the AI with data, and then you get solutions, you get answers to it. That means that the company also has maybe to implement something like a data-driven culture.
Of course.
Is this a topic for you when you work with the companies, or is it not so prominent?
To be honest, it's quite one of the most important issues out there. Most companies are not ready for AI, to be honest, because most of them don't have the data. Most of them have data that is often fragmented or unstructured or inaccessible. And the success of any AI integration and initiative hinges in data readiness. You can adapt an AI strategy if you completed the digitalization strategy, because it's still a process. You have to have a solid data infrastructure. You have to ensure legal compliances. You have to create a data culture. You have to invest in data government, and so on and so on. A lot of people don't see this. They thought, okay, well, we missed on the digitalization part and we never created a data government or a data culture in our company. We don't mind about this anymore because, well, we can use AI now. But this will not work. You still have to understand how data works. You still have to find the valuable sources of data, pick out the right data for your tools and for your applications, and then you can use AI in a mid or higher hanging fruit area, to be at least, or to say at least. But you still have to have the right data. And a lot of companies don't understand this. And this is one of the subjects where AI agents, for example, fail, because they may not have sufficient data to give to it, or they overload it with data. It's both a very terrible idea. You could give all the data you have into it, be it structured, be it unstructured, and the AI agent will be confused as hell. Or you don't have any data and it will not work with it. And then some of the companies take wonderful handwritten notes, upload the pictures, and wonder why it's not working with your notes, which are written in the worst possible way there is. So, of course, you need to clean up. You have to do your homework. You need to have a solid structure. As in building a house, you can't build a house on a not solid structure. You could build it in a mud or in a swamp. Of course, it may sink. Well, the same as with AI. You need to have the solid structure in data, in picking the right data to really use a good AI application. There's this old saying when it comes to AI. It's called trash in, trash out. And it's still counting. If you give it trash, so for example, unstructured data or overloaded with data informations, you will get trash back. If you think about a good strategy and give it a good way to work with solid foundations, with databases, with the right amount of data which it can process, it will work. But it's a step-by-step going.
And what is your observation? Is it that companies now are more open to AI, or were they always open? Yeah, because I don't have a feeling, yeah, how the companies are in the context of general acceptance of AI, supporting them, improving processes, etc. Is it that that they were skeptical, they become now more open, or the other way around, they were more open, and they are now more skeptical? I mean, what is the trend there?
I think one of the biggest trends is that a lot of companies are nowadays more open than they were in the past. As I already said, I'm doing this for a long time now, long before there was ChatGPT and anything else. In the past, I would have prepared, for example, a workshop on AI. Then I would have taught the people in a very complex way how AI works, which different kinds of machine learning are there, and then we would add some foresight methods, we talked about it earlier, and would have a look at how could AI really help you. Then we would calculate it and it would cost around 150K, and then it was over. So nowadays it's cheap. You have a lot of open source software. You have a lot of already built tool sets which you can just use. You don't need your IT department. It could help to have them, but you don't really need them. And so a lot of companies understand now how to apply it faster. We had the little iPhone moment of AI. In the past, it was a complex structure no one really grasped, but it was fancy and science fiction. And nowadays, it's not science fiction anymore, it's science fact. And it's here to stay. So a lot of companies are open for it. But there are different kinds of openness, which I can see in a lot of people I talk to and I work with. There are the companies who are glad that it's here, who are glad that it can help them get a little bit more productive, can help them write a mail, set up an agenda, create a presentation for them. That's nice. And then there are the people who look for the powerful solution that takes away every part of the job. And they want to have it integrated into this tool and that tool, and why can't it do this and that and that and that? We have both sides. To be honest, I think the happier side is the ones who are happy with the little success. So with the low-hanging fruits, which say, okay, I can use it for this and this, and that helps me a lot. The people who really want to have the all-knowing, all powerful solution, they will still pay their 150K and it will still not work. The biggest thing we have to understand when it comes to AI, and this does not change even if the process or if the evolution is so fast, is AI is still a child. It's a child that's finding its way in our everyday lives. And it gets cleverer every month and every week, but still it can't do everything. We will never say never, but we will not have a tool that will solve all our problems and needs in one click. We never had this. We use Word for a different approach than we use Excel and PowerPoint and Google and so on. I don't understand why, when it comes to AI, we suddenly search the master tool. Because why? Isn't it better to have the right tool for the right task? And to come back to the initial question, the openness is wonderful and it's growing every week a little bit more. But there is openness with understanding, and there's openness without understanding what AI can do and not. And this is a task we have to tackle as trainers and consultants, as companies and managers, where we need to understand, okay, before we imagine anything possible, we need to understand what's really out there.
Yeah, but now I was really surprised, yeah, because when you said there are these two worlds, yeah, the ones who maybe use it for some priority issues and in a more limited way, and they're the ones who really want to transform their company and make it I would say, an AI-driven company, yeah. And you said maybe the approach of the former is the better one. Yeah, I was astonished about this because I thought you would say, no, the ones who make the deep integration and so on, they're the most successful ones. Is this a correct understanding from my side, or did I misunderstand it?
You did not misunderstand it, but to be honest, deep integration has a big problem with our culture. If we would be a flexible company culture in our world, I would say, of course, integrate it deeply and adapt when it's adapting. But that's not how the company world works. the people will adapt it deeply into their systems, and then it will freeze and stay like this forever. You know how technology works in a company, and that's a big issue. We are at the starting point of a very big revolution. But many companies nowadays bet on one horse, on one solution, and integrate it deeply into their systems, and are not willed to adapt when technology gets smarter, better, and more precise, because they invested a lot of money into it, because it now costs a lot of money. And why change? Why go to the better solution? Because we implemented it and it costed 150K. So why should we stop it again? So in the phase where at the moment when it comes to AI, it could be a little bit too early to bet all your money on one solution. So a deep integration is nice, and you have to be ready to integrate it. But we still need agility and flexibility to make it work. It's not like technology in the past. In the past, you could say, okay, I really bet on this printer, for example, and it will survive the next 30 years. A wonderful idea. But nowadays we have new technology evolution, a new evolution technology every day or week, so we can't do it anymore. Our
So,
innovation structure and world is too fast nowadays to integrate something so deep that it can't change anymore.
so it's a bit like with the electric vehicle, yeah, that you always think about, is it the right moment, or is
Yeah.
the technical development so fast, yeah, that in 1 year I have a completely outdated vehicle if I buy it today, yeah. I think that's also there one of the topics, and I could imagine with AI it's similar. But maybe even with more consequences. Yeah, because if I invested a lot in something which is outdated, maybe already 1 year afterwards, yeah, and people got used to it, and I can imagine that's a challenging situation. Yeah.
And again, we have not invented here, because if you build it up in your company as the one and only solution, your employees will not really understand why they need to change again and again and again. So it's all about storytelling. And if you say it's implemented deeply and we're an AI integrated company now, and then you change it again and again, and the people will get a little bit confused. If you communicate it like, well, it's a very fast and developing area, and we will try to be part of it with all you together, and therefore we will try this out and that out. It's a better way. I have a wonderful example for this. In the beginning of generative AI, so in the beginning of ChatGPT and so on, so 2 years from now, in the past, there were a lot of companies who created tools which were built on ChatGPT to read PDFs. There were a lot of companies who made their money and sold licenses to other companies and said, well, with this you could just upload a PDF and you could chat with it. It was a big business model. Nowadays, it's deeply integrated into every AI tool out there. If I, as a company, would have bought this lifetime license for the PDF reader and then implement it and have rules for it and have tutorials for it and everything, and then it becomes a basic feature of every tool out there, I think it's a little bit difficult now to tell your employees, well, we taught you in chat with PDF.ai, but now you can use it in ChatGPT if you want to, and you can forget everything out there, and you learned this and you helped develop it, but it's bad now, so we have a new one. And to be honest, this will not be the last part where this works out like this. So we need to be adaptable. That's the biggest thing I can tell every company out there.
And you touched upon open source, yeah. In this conversation already, and that's for me a very fascinating topic, yeah, because I'm a big believer in open source, yeah, without maybe being an expert on it, yeah. Therefore, my question to you: what is really open source? Yeah, because I have the impression there are some companies they call their solution open source, and it's not really open source. And what is the advantage of open source, and where do we need maybe proprietary solutions?
Well, the biggest advantage of open source is and will always be that you can develop it together. If you think, for example, on the solution from China on DeepSeek, there was a lot of talk about it. A lot of people said, well, it censored, well, you have it on Chinese servers and so on. But in the core, DeepSeek is an open source software. You can have every part of it, download it, and run it on your own servers. You can adapt all your informations. If you're missing something from Chinese history, well, teach the model to understand and it will learn. So open source is a wonderful way to make stuff that's out there more personal, more precise, more expert-like. A lot of companies nowadays work on R1 from DeepSeek. If you think about Perplexity as a search engine or as an research AI, it has R1 integrated into their processes. Still, it's not on Chinese servers. We're not providing any information to them, but it made Perplexity better. It helped increase or make a better version of an already good solution. And that's what I love about open source. We don't really recognize where it comes from all the time. And this is a little bit sad because a lot of experts, a lot of programmers, a lot of companies who provide open source solutions will never be mentioned or recognized. But still, they're the founding, the core of all the tools out there because they provide it for free, they provide it to work together on. We really have a collaboration in the technology sector where we can create wonderful new stuff together. So, for example, one of the biggest text-to-image generators was Stable Diffusion. A lot of people never heard of Stable Diffusion, that it was, and never understood that even the basics of the diffusion, how to create an AI picture, were adapted by Midjourney, by 4.0, and so on and so on. So open source and the way to tackle the creation of pictures, for example, was the building block for all the image technologies we have nowadays. And a lot of them don't run on Stable Diffusion anymore because it's outdated nowadays. But the core idea of how to tackle the problem was created by open source and created our environment in AI we have nowadays. We have a lot of other solutions as well. Same with R1, which created the way of creating a reasoning model, and other people work on it, build their own, or implement it into their solutions and make it better again. So the open source idea is a wonderful idea of sharing, where we sometimes, of course, lose the original author, which is kind of sad, but
That's
a price
life.
to
And
pay.
for me, it's impressive that people accept this.
Yeah.
Yeah, they feed a lot of knowledge, a lot of work into some tools. Yeah, where for them themselves there's no financial benefit or anything, but they do it. Yeah, because I think they are fascinated by the technology. They want to move the technology forward, and I love this approach. Yeah.
And they know their own limits and understand, well, we created this and that, but we're not experts in every field and we can't adapt it to every branch and industry. So we give it open source and it will take its own way. Because you said automotive industry, the automotive industry will adapt a reasoning model like DeepSeek in a different way than, for example, a chemical plant and so on and so on. So open source is limited by the knowledge of its creator, but is open to develop in a lot or evolve in a lot of different scenarios and industries. Not because of the knowledge of the creator, which is immense, but by the knowledge of the swarm of the people.
Mhm. Mhm. I mean, now I think, Alex, we come to the end of the conversation, yeah, and I really appreciated from the beginning to the end every word you said. Yeah, so thank you
Thank
very
you
much
very
for
much.
this. A lot of insights, yeah, and what I take with me is I think AI is very much about cooperation, which we especially touched upon at the end, but also I think it went throughout the conversation, and it's also about sharing. And if it's only data sharing, yeah, that's most important. And I would like to give you the opportunity of the final word, but I would like to limit it. If I would ask you in 3 words to tell me what changes for a company do you see when introducing AI?
3 words.
Or a sentence or 3 sentences. I give you 3 sentences.
Let's try words. Let's try words. I think 3 words which could change a company. Speed, insight, and transformation. You have to be fast. You have to accelerate processes. You have to understand. You need the insights from your data and understand that you need the data government. And you have transform not only operations but also culture, strategy, and vision. Speed, insight, transformation. I think those are 3 words.
Wonderful. So these were the final words. Thank you very much, Alex.
It was my pleasure.
And have a good continuation of the day. Yeah.
Same to you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.